Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. It's been a while. As you can tell, the background is a bit different. I'm not at my usual spot when I film my check-in videos. I'm sitting at my desk. I think this might be a more familiar angle if you watch my vlogs. And indeed, I think I was trying to put myself in a headspace where I am not so formal and so particular about how the framing is, how the background looks, because honestly, things are a bit messy in the background, and the thought of like having to clean up everything in the background and fuss over everything made me less and less excited to film this video, and that's not what I want. But just to show you, if you can't tell, I have a whole lot of laundry at the top of my sofa chair. You can't tell, but the floor is not vacuumed, and it's just been quite a scattered time. I was gonna say difficult, but I didn't want to sound too pessimistic. I mean difficult in that it's taking just a bit more effort to do my regular routines and just generally feeling a bit more tired. This video is off to a great start. I'm already rambling, but thank you so much for clicking into this video. And you may or may not have noticed, but I've been gone for about a month, slightly over a month from YouTube. I didn't film a May check-in last month, and I didn't make any videos in the month of June. And also in May, I didn't film any new videos. I was just editing videos that I had already pre-filmed, and I was just editing those and putting them up. So in terms of like sitting down to film, it's been almost 2 months for me, and I feel pretty out of practice. And so that's why I'm doing all these things to like ease back into it and make it easier for me as well, hence the very informal background. And I'm not even putting my hair down because it's so hot, and even though I have the aircon on and the fan blowing at me, it was just too hot to have my hair down, and so I'm just pinning it up. So it's a bit more casual. I needed it to be a bit more casual in order to be able to sit down and film this, because if I were to sit down at my usual place and try to like sit up straight and talk to the camera, I think I wouldn't be able to do it, because that's what happened when I tried to film my May check-in at the end of last month. So maybe we'll start with that. So basically in this video, it's a check-in for May and June, since I didn't do one for May, and just sharing more of my thoughts and what's going on in my life. My thoughts about YouTube, my thoughts about the goals I had set. Maybe at the end I'll talk about some of my favorites. So nothing too different from what you would expect from my previous check-in videos as well. And I tried to write down as much as I could first on my laptop so I don't forget what I want to say, because I have quite a lot of thoughts. And my goal also is to kind of wrap everything up, and by making this video, I'm almost like mentally just packaging everything, processing everything, and then putting it away so that I can move on with the rest of the year. Because it is now, at least when I am gonna upload this, it will be the second half of 2025, and that's really wild to think about, that the first year has gone by just like that and didn't really go the way that I wanted it to. So yes, that is what I want to do today in this video. And I apologize again for being gone for a month if any of you were anticipating my videos. A couple of you actually reached out to me by my email, and that really touched me. As I'm filming this, I haven't replied to those messages yet, but just know that it really meant a lot that you took the time to reach out. And it also felt nice that somebody was thinking about me in this time. So thank you for that. And I guess I will get started on this video. As you can tell, it won't be a very structured video, but I hope this video will just keep you company as you're doing your other things. Let's start with May, since I didn't do a May check-in. I was actually gonna do a May check-in, like I had sat down and turned on the video and I had started filming, but about 10 minutes in, I just couldn't bring myself to do it. Like, I had to stop recording and just lie down for a bit. So it was, I don't know what the reason was on that particular day, but I just couldn't bring myself to talk about what happened in May. I think a lot of the feelings I had were probably similar to what happened in April. So if you had watched my April check-in, I didn't watch back my April check-in to see how I was feeling, but the gist of what I think the gist of how I was feeling was just a sense that things weren't really moving at the pace that I wanted it to. I was still a bit overwhelmed. A lot of stuff happened in April that I mentioned, like stuff that happened over the Hari Raya season that really affected me. And I think in May, even though it had been about 1.5 months, I still hadn't really gotten over it. And so there was that huge emotional stone, I guess, in my heart and in my body and in my mind. And it was taking up a lot of space and basically blocking every thought I had and everything that I wanted to do. And I wish I could be more specific, but I don't want to implicate the people who were involved in my videos, and part of me also don't really want to put it online and have it be permanent. So I'm sorry that I can't go into detail in my video, but imagine like something like a conflict that happened with somebody that you care about in your life, like your family or your friends, and that you carry that hurt and that resentment and that burden with you for weeks and months because you haven't really resolved it. And that anger and that resentment is like blocking all your emotional and intellectual capacities. So I found myself struggling to think about YouTube or trying to exercise or working on my goals because I was so blocked up. I don't know how else to say it, but I hope you know what I mean. So that was what I was feeling in May, and so I think when I sat down to try to film my check-in, it felt like it would have been a repeat of April, and there's also that upsetness at myself for not having gotten over it, even though it had been over a month or so. Yeah, and it just felt very difficult. I was disappointed, yes, that's the word. I was disappointed in myself, and so the more I was trying to talk to the camera, the more I realized that I'm right in the midst of the tornado of how I was feeling, and it's not a good place to reflect from. And so I couldn't film it. And then I thought I would do it the next week. The next weekend was like the 7th of June or something, and then didn't happen. In fact, that was when I actually confronted the person who was the source of all my anger and resentment, and then that's when it was resolved. So up until then, it was just a lot of repressed emotion, and like I was suppressing my anger and my hurt and my resentment, and it was only really resolved like a couple months later. And then I'll talk about it later, but this was what happened in June. But yeah, so in May, that was what I was feeling. That's why I didn't film my check-in. But other than that, what happened in May was just me when I was not dealing, or at least when I was trying to ignore everything that I was feeling. I was trying to like scale back the work that I was doing on my goals. So I was only just editing my videos. I wasn't filming any new content or planning any new content. And that's it really. That's all I have written down. I think it's just that I tried to take my goals more slowly, so I wasn't so strict with like my waking up time and my sleeping time. Honestly, I think I was just trying to get 7 to 8 hours. I wasn't really paying attention to what time I slept and what time I woke up. Yeah, it seems like I wrote down that it was a month that just kind of existed and went by, and that was the gist of May. And like I said, like whatever had plagued me in April continued to affect my mood in May. And I think towards the end of May was when I felt like 2025 had been quite disappointing. And I think it started well. It started and I started the year very enthusiastically. I had YouTube, I was excited about it, I had all these goals I wanted to achieve. And then when I think I just didn't anticipate the roadblocks and my own mental strength when it came to hitting those roadblocks. And so a lot of April and May was trying to deal with that, and June as well. So yeah, the sense that I got was just that 2025 was kind of disappointing, and knowing that the second half of the year was coming up, I did think that I wanted to use June as a way to redeem the rest of my year, or at least prepare for the second half of the year. So June rolled around, tried to film my check-in and failed, and I think that affected me quite a lot. The fact that I wasn't able to sit down and film, also because I hadn't processed what had happened. That I think the mindset that I had in June was just that I'm gonna take a break. Like, the fact that I couldn't even film my check-in, that demoralized me a lot, and I didn't really think about any other content, like not even vlogs, that I wanted to film. I think there was a bit of a I think there was a bit of a tension between me and YouTube, like in my mind, because I suddenly felt like I wanted to just retreat into myself and be super like private, and I wanted to disappear from any sort of like online presence. I always have this ongoing thing where I want to be true to myself and as authentic as I can be on YouTube, but at the same time I'm also very private, I feel. I don't know if that's true, given that I don't know if people will believe me knowing that I make these videos on YouTube, but there's that tension, there's constantly that tension in my head where I want to be vulnerable, but I also am so private, or I want to be private about my life. So I don't know, I haven't really figured that out. But yeah, that was the feeling I had about YouTube, and so I thought I'm just gonna take a break. At the start of the year, I told myself that I'll do it until June and then assess how I feel. So I guess I made that decision just a month earlier, and I did it quite abruptly, so I'm sorry if it seemed like I just dropped off the face of the earth and didn't upload on YouTube without any explanation. So that's my bad. That is a choice that I made, and not the best choice, maybe. But hopefully with this video, I'll find it in me to find the reason and the motivation again. Yeah, so after that emotional stone that I was talking about, after that was resolved, I feel like a huge weight lifted off my shoulders, like the cloud that had been looming over me for the past 2.5 months. I could be exaggerating all these like time frames, but it was about like 2 months since it started in April, and now it's end of June. But anyway, the storm cloud had finally lifted. Well, it didn't lift immediately, it took a while. It took like a week or two, or maybe it's still ongoing, but I do feel a lot more clear-headed, a lot less depressed. I was kind of depressed, I think, in the last month. Or I think perhaps it wasn't depression, I think it was just burnt outness. I think I was burnt out. But also I don't know, because I usually associate burnt out with like work, but work was not the source of my burnt outness. It was, I mean, but whatever was happening in my personal life was affecting how I was able to do my work, and so it made work a lot harder, and so that also contributed. It was just like a negative spiral, basically. It affected how I did my work and how I felt about myself, so it was just a negative spiral all around. And yeah, so I think I felt really burnt out. In fact, today I intentionally took my off in lieu. So there was I think it was the Hari Raya Haji off in lieu. So I'm taking it today instead of like immediately after the holiday, because I thought that, okay, it's the end of the month, I would want to film this check-in video. And honestly, it's been really nice. I think just having a day off on a day that I know I have work, but I'm intentionally taking a day off, it feels different from like taking just a weekend to recharge. So I think maybe that's why I have the energy to even film this and the headspace. Maybe I just need to take more like mental health days off so that I can think through the stuff that is happening in my life, especially if I need it. Though I think really the main thing that helped was just like confronting and addressing head on the thing that was bothering me. And if I hadn't done that, I would still be in that very emotionally choked up state. So if you are avoiding, I guess this is a sign to you, if you're avoiding a difficult conversation with someone, but the resentment and the emotional rock or stone that is choking up all your capacity for other things, maybe this is your sign to just have that conversation. Because it was like 99, it made 99% of the difference. But anyway, what else happened in June? Oh, I also had another thought about the month of June in general. All my life, I mean, I'm only 28, but I had started working in 2020, now it's 2025, and I mean 2020 to 2022, which is like the pandemic COVID period, I feel like my life kind of stalled, and so the my working life during that period didn't feel like the real like working life of an adult. So it's hard to say, like that period I feel like it's an anomaly, but say like 2023 to 2024 to now. So I had the thought that June has always been a month of like a break month, right? In school it was June holidays. Even in uni we had like the 3-month break between like the previous year and the next academic year. So June has always been a month of rest. But in my adult life now, I'm just working through June, and I was wondering if that was what made me feel a bit disconnected and a bit sian, I guess, because I haven't really traveled in June. I traveled back in March to go to Hong Kong, but like looking back at my working history, like I don't think I even traveled much in June. Maybe like a short 1-week trip. I think there was one year I went to Bintan for the first time in June, but it's just like 1 week compared to the 1-month long holiday or the 3-month long term break that I used to have. And so maybe, I don't know, maybe subconsciously there's like a disconnect there where this is usually a time of rest, but I'm just powering through like a machine. So I was wondering if that was also the case, like that contributed to my kind of like disorientation. Then another thought that I had also was that I think this was more me like chiding myself. I don't know what's the word, like reproaching myself for what I seemed, or at least to me it felt like all the actions I had taken in the year so far had actually been sabotaging myself rather than helping myself. Like that was the feeling that was a thought that I was starting to have. For instance, my Korean classes, I had stopped Korean class because it was getting overwhelming, and then I no longer had my weekly Korean lessons to go to or to look forward to. And then my yoga classes expired in May, at the end of May, and I no longer have yoga classes to go to. So I think those two things, they were such a huge part of my life for the past, maybe, when did I start? End of 2023 or like the third quarter of 2023. So they were a huge part of my life for almost 2 years, and I had just stopped them just like that. So I suddenly felt bereft of the activities that were a huge part of my identity almost, like going to Korean classes, going to yoga classes. They were a huge part of my life, and it took up a lot of my time. And so to suddenly take that away for reasons that I told myself were good, and it felt like I had made the wrong decision, and so I felt a lot of regret and disappointment at myself, like what on earth was I thinking, stopping all these activities that made a huge part of my identity. And even in like May, because I was feeling so awful, I didn't even have the energy to go to try to use up as much of my yoga classes as possible. So I felt like I wasted all that time feeling bad, and the dark energy was just affecting everything else that I did with my time. But I think mostly that feeling has passed. I did think about it more, and there were other reasons why I had to stop Korean. The time slot wasn't good. It wasn't that I was not enjoying Korean. It was just a huge part of a major reason was just that the timing was not ideal, because it was in the evening on a work from home day, and it was just very tiring to leave my house, and the class is very far from where I live, so it would have been easier to sustain had the timing of my classes be on a work from office day. So that was also a contributing reason. And then the yoga classes also, I realized that it's very hard for me. I don't know, I just feel a bit wasteful when I cannot use up a lot of the classes. So I buy a package of classes, right? And I think when my membership expired, I had only used half of my package. So it really wasn't as affordable as it would have been if I had been able to use up more of the classes in my package. And also the fact that the timings often weren't good, and so I felt like I was beholden to the timings that were available at the yoga studio, and that felt more inflexible to me than, say, going to the gym where I can go anytime. But I do miss it. I mean, even though those were huge cons, there were also pros that I had to give up. And so yeah, it's not 100% a good decision or 100% a bad decision. It's just a decision that I chose to make. So that was what I was thinking about also. Another thing also that happened in June was that I don't know if I've mentioned this in previous videos, but I had a big trip planned at the end of the year. I think it's also a big reason why I bought the Osmo Pocket 3, the vlogging camera that I showed in one of my earlier vlogs. And that trip that I had thought was gonna happen at the end of the year has confirmed to not be happening. So because of various reasons, and it was actually a huge blow, because a huge blow to my mental health, I guess, because I'm the kind of person where I need something at the end of the year or something in the future to look forward to. It keeps me excited, it keeps me like focused. I know what is coming up to look forward to. I like planning for things, and so suddenly not having that trip, actually it was in limbo for a long time. I think from April or March onwards, it was starting to seem like it might not happen, or like I was waiting for things to be confirmed, and so I had to halt all planning for it. So it almost felt like it wasn't gonna happen anyway. And then when it was finally confirmed that it was not gonna happen, I was very disappointed. There was relief that I now know that at least it's no longer on the table and that I can stop thinking about it, because otherwise it was just like I was in limbo. But also the disappointment of it not actually happening and not having something at the end of the year to look forward to, that was a huge blow. So I was very disappointed. And I think that also, so what happened was, because knowing that this trip was happening, I was saving up quite a bit more towards my holiday fund, because I thought that this trip was gonna happen and it was gonna be like I was gonna go to North America. And so that was gonna be very expensive, right? So I had saved up a lot of money. And then when I knew that it wasn't gonna happen, I thought like, oh, now I have all this money that I had saved up for this thing that's not gonna happen. Let me channel that money towards like just my dopamine seeking behaviors, i.e. like shopping for stupid things to like cope with the disappointment that it's not happening. So I shopped a lot, and I spent on like things like, I bought a lot of clothes. I went back into my perfume obsession, so I got into like the whole Arab perfume thing, and I was looking at a whole bunch of Arab perfumes on Shopee. So I guess I'm going into a bit of talking about my goals now. That was the impact on my finances. I kind of just like went a bit crazy with indulging in my shopping more than I would have liked, and that was really because I felt so bad that I just wanted something fun to indulge in and to engage in. Yeah, so not very proud of it, but also not the end of the world, not catastrophic. And I managed to, I mean, I try to rein myself in a lot, but I do feel like I indulged a lot more in this difficult period of my life compared to if I were, you know, more mentally secure and less stressed out about the stuff happening in my life. On the bright side, I do have trips kind of coming up that I can look forward to. So things are looking up. There are exciting things that are potentially coming up that I can look forward to. So even though I cannot do the big trip that I had planned, I have the money saved up and I can plan other things that can give me something to anticipate at the end of this year. You know, I've been shopping so much that my medium-term sinking fund, which is like the pool of money that I save up throughout the year so that I can make bigger expenses, I can make bigger splurges towards the end of the year. That fund has not been growing because I've been dipping into it so much to just offset my monthly shopping spending. So that's a huge disappointment. I mean, that's also on me and my fault, and I'm trying to also, like, I have a lot of regret purchases that are just sitting on my carousel now waiting to be sold so that I can recoup some money at least. So that's the consequence of that behavior. And as for my sleeping goals, or like my goal to sleep early and wake up early, that has, I think, completely gone down the drain, at least for now, at least in the last 2 months, because yeah, I was just focused on sleeping, getting enough sleep, and not so much focused on like trying to get up early or forcing myself to get up early. I would like to restart it. I'm always on the quest to work on my sleep and sleeping earlier and waking up earlier. It's an ongoing, I suspect it will forever be something that I am always working on, unless something dramatic about my lifestyle changes that it becomes easier. But as for how my lifestyle is right now and the schedule that I'm on right now, I think it's always going to be a struggle to sleep early and wake up early. So on the bright side, I'm sleeping a lot more. In fact, like sometimes I'm just sleeping, sometimes it's not a good thing. Like sometimes I'm sleeping truly just to escape how I'm feeling and not wanting to face the day, but at least I'm getting a lot of sleep. Yeah. And I've been trying to think about how to make my sleep as restful and relaxing as possible. Like I'm really into my night routine and creating a ritual for myself for sleeping and making sure that when I sleep I'm trying to get as much rest as possible and making sure that it's a restful sleep. But yeah, as for having a very consistent bedtime, still very difficult. Still almost impossible for me right now. But at least I'm getting good sleep. Okay, what's next? Then there is also my exercise goal, like my goal to exercise regularly and be more healthy and fit. So now that my yoga is over, I can focus more on going to the gym, and my goal really is to build muscle. I think if I have that as my goal, I think it'll be easier for me to work towards rather than just the generic like be healthy or be fit. I think I want to build muscle, and I've gone I think maybe 4 times this month, and it's been quite fun. So I have finally, in the last maybe 2 months, ventured into the weights section of my gym, because for the longest time, since I started going to the gym last October, in like the times that I've been to the gym, I've always just stayed within the treadmill section and the machines section. I never ventured further into the weights area because I was just intimidated. Like it always seemed very crowded. It didn't feel as straightforward as using a machine, even if like the exercises are kind of similar. So I always felt intimidated, and I told myself it's okay, like it takes time. And eventually there was a day where I was there with my friend, and we went into the weight section together, and then I had enough confidence and motivation to like pick up a couple dumbbells and do a few exercises that I had seen on Pinterest and YouTube. I think I'm always very paranoid I'm always very scared that my form is wrong, and with a machine it's much easier, like it's taken care of for the most part, whereas with like dumbbells and stuff I'm always worried that I'm doing something wrong, because I have been called out once in the gym for doing squats wrong, and I was so embarrassed. I mean, I was really thankful because then at least I know that I was doing it wrong and I won't do it anymore. And so I didn't do squats anymore for a really long time because I was just scared that I was going to do it wrong and then hurt my body in the process. So I also watched a lot of YouTube videos after that on like how to do a proper squat. So there's always a lot of like sucking in your ego and being okay with making mistakes and being corrected, and then making an effort to learn how to do it properly. And so the last 2 times that I went to the gym, I was also sick for a while, so I couldn't go to the gym. But the last time I went to the gym, it just felt, I think it's just the endorphins, right? I feel strong, and like I had done something good for my body. I felt sore, but in a good way. Like I was really doing something good for my health. And I mean, I really think it's just the endorphins from going to the gym. And I want to keep that motivation. I want to have that as a motivation to keep me going and to keep me disciplined. And I hope that I can keep it up. So my goal is to go to the gym maybe 3-4 times a week. And I tell myself that I will go on days where I am not going to the office, because usually if I'm going to the office, I go to the office 3 times a week. So on days when I'm going to the office, going in the morning is very stressful because I have to wake up very early so that I am not late for work. And after work, I did that once. I went to the gym after work, like after a work from office day, and I was so tired. And not only that, the gym was crazy full, the Active SG gym near my house. And it was so uncomfortable. There were like no machines available. I had to loiter, or I had to like walk. It was just very uncomfortable. So never again am I going on an evening after work. So I'll try to go on days where I'm working from home, and on the weekends. So that will be about 4 days. So I'll try 3 to 4 days a week and just be consistent about it, because I realized it doesn't really take that much time. In fact, walking to the gym and back is much shorter than walking to the yoga studio and back. And also my time in the gym is a lot shorter than one yoga session. So one yoga session for me is usually an hour, whereas one gym session for me is about 45 minutes. So I can get everything, like I can leave my door and come back in an hour when I go to the gym to exercise. So I'm trying to keep that like briefness, that shortness of time in mind when I am thinking about procrastinating going to the gym, because it really doesn't take that much time. I mean, of course I have to shower afterwards and like do my laundry, but that's fine. So yeah, I'm quite excited because I feel like I am getting the ball rolling on it. I also got a few like just like regular like decathlon weights for my house. So before, like in May and June, I think I somehow still had this drive in me to still work a bit, to at least make a bit of effort even when I was going through like all that emotional stress. And so I bought 2 kg and 3 kg weights, like the dumbbells from Decathlon, and I was trying to do like 5-minute dumbbell workouts right before I bathe at night. So I was doing that consistently for about 2 weeks for a while, and then I kind of fell off. So there's been like some effort here and there throughout the last 2 months. So I haven't completely like just given up and let go of my desire to be fit and healthy. So at least I have those weights at home also. If I am unable to make it down to the gym, I have those weights that I can use when I'm at home. Yeah, and I think it's also the excitement of working on something new, like lifting weights and building strength and muscle. That is different from my goal when I was doing yoga. When I was doing yoga, it was to become more flexible and in a way be stronger also, but that goal kind of faded away as time passed, because I was kind of just becoming complacent and just going for the sake of like being active. And my progress in yoga had also plateaued at some point, so that added to the boredom that I felt with yoga. But I'm sure I'll come to miss it with time. I'm already kind of missing it now. I wish that there was an affordable way for me to... Actually, there is. There is healthy 365 classes that I can go to. So I think I'll do that. Like on when I'm really feeling like I miss yoga and I want to like do a class or two, I'll have a look on 365 to see if there are any classes that I can go to. But for now, I'm excited about working on this new thing, like getting stronger, hopefully building muscle. Yeah, that is quite exciting. I think there was also, I was also thinking, you know, simple things like maybe walking home instead of taking the bus, because from the interchange to my house, like it's only 2 or 3 stops and I could walk instead of taking the bus. So I'm trying to do more little things that, like the more difficult but more active thing, like taking the stairs instead of taking the escalator, walking home instead of taking the bus. I'm trying to incorporate more of those little things that I can do, especially during busy periods when I'm not able to make my way to the gym. I mean, I tried to do a lot of that in May and June when I was feeling very stressed, just to have that little bit of movement. Yeah, I think that's about all the updates about my goals that I have in mind to share. I talked about my YouTube, I talked about my sleep schedule, and about my health goals. So that's where I'm at right now. I kind of touched a bit about my my budget, my finances. Budget is all the same, there's really nothing new to add. But my finances are okay. Despite my many indulgences in consumerism, it's still generally okay. That's the beauty of having a system, and also I have not completely fallen off the wagon and lost my mind and spent all my savings. So things are still okay. Maybe I'll share some of my favorites in the last 2 months. So while it was a bleak 2 months, I still had a lot of joy, found a lot of joy in various different things that I want to share. I keep a list of favorite things every month, and I highly recommend doing that because it's really nice to look back and see, I guess, the highlights of the month or things that you love throughout the year. So in May, I seem to only have 4 favorites, but I guess they cheered me up a lot during that month. The first one is a song. It's called Party For You by Charli XCX. I listened to it non-stop on repeat in May when I was crying, when I was just like on the way to work and I just didn't want to think. So maybe it's less about bringing joy and more just about numbing my feelings. So I listened to that song a lot. And I mean, I also really like the song, and it was also a very trendy song, so I listened to it a lot. Well, that's a great song. Then as for books that I read in May, I read Atomic Habits again. So I read it back in 2023, and after I filmed my top 3 books video, I said that I might want to reread Atomic Habits. So that's what I did in May. I just reread the whole book. It was great as usual, and I was hoping that it would make me feel better and make me feel more motivated to restart my goals again. It didn't exactly do that, but I mean, reading is nice. Reading like is a thing that helps me forget my problems for a while and just engage with something that's not my screen. I typically read when I'm on the commute to work. So that was a good book to revisit, and this time I took down notes in my phone app as I was reading it, so I will revisit those notes and see how I can improve my habits for the second half of the year. Next is this is a random one, but I baked banana bread again. So I used to have like a baking phase. When I first moved into my house and I had my own kitchen, I was baking banana bread. I was baking a whole bunch of stuff, but banana bread was one of my favorite things to make because, I mean, baking is quite a specific... You have to measure a lot of things compared to cooking, but banana bread I felt was more forgiving in terms of the measurements of your ingredients compared to things like, I don't know, cupcakes and brownies and cakes and stuff. So I love making banana bread. I'll try to include some pictures, but they might not be very nice. But I loved... I think I made it 3 times and then I stopped because that's just how my attention is nowadays. But now that I think about it, that really helped me get through some of like the difficult days when I had banana bread to make and eat. It's mostly me, like I'm mostly the person eating all my banana bread. But it was nice to have as a breakfast, like a very sweet breakfast. I'll share my recipe in the description below if you're interested in my banana bread recipe. I think it's like a combination of different recipes that I found online and what had worked and what has worked for me. So that's the recipe that I followed to make my banana bread. And then speaking of sweet things, one of the highlights of my perfume rabbit hole, trying to buy my way out of my misery, was discovering this perfume. Let me show you. I took it out to show you. Is this one. It's called Eclaire by Latafa. I think if you are any way involved in perfume TikTok, you might have seen this perfume being talked about. I mean, I'm a very basic person when it comes to almost everything, and including perfume. So I'm a very sweet, gourmand scent kind of person. And I think I bought this on a whim. This was the first perfume. So remember, I think I mentioned in my previous check-in that I impulse bought a perfume online and then it got lost in the mail twice, and so they refunded me the money, so I didn't get that perfume in the end. I think because I was refunded, because they refunded my money, I thought, well, that desire was not met anyway, so how about I go and find something else to buy. And so this was what I ended up with, and it was quite surprising how much I actually liked it. I was resistant. It smells really nice. I was resistant for a long time because I thought it's just gonna smell cheap. It's probably overhyped. I'm sure it's not as good as people say it is. And the bottle, I think I have mixed feelings about the bottle. It can be gaudy. Some people think it's nice. Some people think it's gaudy. I still don't really have my mind made up about whether I think it's nice or gaudy. Probably a bit more on the gaudy side. But it smells, if you like sweet scents, I highly recommend this. You can easily get a headache if you wear too much, if you spray too much, and I think you might annoy other people if you overspray also, and you might give them a headache. So be careful with this. I'm usually quite picky with perfumes, even though I try so many. I don't like a lot of them. But this is one that I have been obsessed with. This is the first perfume in a long time that I've been quite obsessed with. So this has been cheering me up since I found it, since I discovered it. Since we're talking about perfumes, maybe I'll talk about something that I discovered just this month, so June. So I want to talk about it. Also a viral TikTok perfume, also very basic, but it's Al Rehab Choco Musk. This is like $5. This 50ml bottle is $5. $7 if you include shipping. I found it on Shopee, and it's also a gourmand perfume, but it's different in that it is purely a vanilla extract type of scent. It says Choco Musk. That's the funny thing. It says Choco Musk, so some people get like a chocolate note from it, like a chocolate chip cookie kind of vibe. But to me, it just straight up smells like vanilla extract, like a vanilla extract perfume. And I find it funny because one of my signature scents from 2 years ago, and I wore it like for 2 years straight, was charli Vanilla 28. So the name of that perfume is Vanilla 28, but the whole time I wore it, I thought it smelled like chocolate. It smelled like chocolate on me, it smelled like chocolate when I smell it from the bottle, but it's called vanilla. And then eventually, because I wore it for 2 years straight, I got bored of it and I stopped using it. But then now this is in my life. It's called Choco Musk, but it smells like vanilla to me. So I'm just wondering if it's something about my nose or the way that these perfumes sit on my skin that make it smell like the opposite, like the other thing, rather than the thing that it claims to be. So this is also really nice. So these two have been the winning finds from my perfume spree. I have bought a few more actually that were not wins at all, and they are now on carousel waiting to be sold because they were disappointments. But these two are the ones that I really like. So those are the two things that have been cheering me up. Maybe I could make a perfume video in the future, I don't know. It's something that I have a lot of thoughts about. It's been my hobby for a couple years now. But we'll see. We'll see once I get this video out and where my headspace is at with regards to the content I want to make. But okay, anyway, the next thing on my favorites. So those are all my May favorites, I guess. So, and this is like a June favorite. So the rest of my June favorites is a few books and TV shows actually. So 2 TV shows that I watched this month, or shows in general, they were on Netflix and Disney Plus. I watched this Japanese drama called Unnatural. It's a forensic science drama that my colleague recommended to me, and then I watched the first episode out of curiosity, and then I binge watched the whole show in a day. I think it's on Netflix, yeah, I watched it on Netflix. I highly recommend it if you like forensic drama type of shows. Each episode has a different case and there's like a through line, like a plot line throughout the whole show, so that culminates in the end. Very predictable but also very interesting. Predictable in like the lead up and the climax of the show. It was very comforting to watch. I was trying to watch a lot of shows also to like distract myself, so that was a good show to watch. And then recently I finished a Korean drama called Hyper Knife. This is on Disney Plus, and there were only 8 episodes, I believe. So it's just a very interesting Korean drama. I'm not the best Korean drama I've watched, but interesting enough to keep me hooked for all 8 episodes. I was also trying to watch something to just get used to the sound of the Korean language again, because I had been very... Basically, since I stopped Korean lessons, I have not been listening or reading any Korean except on Duolingo, which is not very good in keeping... which is like the barest minimum of trying to keep my Korean language still active in my brain. So I was trying to watch a drama to just get used to it again. This is a side point, but BTS is coming back and I'm a huge BTS fan, or at least I used to be. And so I was telling myself that I will restart my Korean self-study, or maybe even going back to classes again when BTS comes back, because then I'll have a lot of content to consume. It'll be more exciting again and I can watch more of their reality shows and their interviews and stuff. So yeah, Hyper Knife. It's a favorite because it was interesting, I guess. But maybe it wasn't so much the show, but what the show meant for me watching it. But yeah, it kick-started again my interest in Korean media and Korean entertainment. So that's been something that cheered me up in June. Then I mentioned like lifting weights in the gym, kind of a favorite also. At least like the feeling that I am doing something that is making my body stronger. So and like the endorphins that I get from it, like the feeling of like, ooh, I went to the gym, that kind of feeling, it has been quite addictive. And I mean, I'm still not like super gymmy, but it's been quite nice. Anyway, what's next? Oh, I bought a new pillow for my head, like my head pillow. A bit of an impulse purchase because I was just in IKEA. I can't remember when I bought it, maybe in May or beginning of June. But it's this pillow, I'll put a picture here. It's called the KVARNVEN pillow. It's supposed to be like a memory foam ergonomic pillow with like one side where it's cool touch. It's pretty expensive, it's like $90. And because it's one of the ergonomic pillows, not just the regular stuffed pillows. And I'm actually very particular about the pillow that I use to sleep, like my head pillow basically. I can't sleep on very thick pillows because I feel like it gives me neck pain and I can't sleep well. So in fact, when I go on holiday, especially if I'm going for holiday for an extended period of time, I bring my own pillow because my pillow is flat enough that I can pack it in like a regular check-in size luggage. But really, the pillow that I sleep on is always very low. It's just what I'm used to. And I was starting to feel like, firstly, that pillow is quite an old pillow, so it has gotten yellow and discolored. I don't even know from what, but it's quite gross looking. And so I was trying to hunt for another low pillow from either Muji. My first pillow is from Muji. So I was looking at Muji, I was looking at IKEA. And I found this KVARNVEN pillow in IKEA and I thought, okay, it looks low enough. So I bought it, and it was in fact not low enough. It was much higher than my old pillow and higher than I was used to. So for the first week when I was sleeping on that pillow, I actually didn't get very good sleep. I was tossing and turning. I couldn't figure out a way to lie on it that made me feel comfortable. But after a week of stress and like potential regret about buying this $90 pillow, I immediately got used to it. I got used to it after that 1 week like breaking in period, I guess, and I really enjoy that pillow. Like there were some nights where I'm lying on it and I feel like, oh, this is a really good pillow. And I think also because it's slightly higher, I don't get back pain as much when I wake up in the morning. Because when I was sleeping on my old pillow, there were some mornings when, especially when I sleep in longer than I should be, I will wake up with back pain. Because it almost feels like my head is so low that my spine is compressed almost. Like it's not like, because I don't know how to describe it, but because imagine like you're just lying flat on the floor, the way that your spine curves is a bit more compressed compared to if you were to elevate your head and your shoulders a bit higher. So that was like the feeling or the sense that I got. So just elevating my head that bit higher reduced the stress on my spine, I guess. And so, I mean, long story short, I wake up with less back pain or no back pain at all. So I feel like it has improved my sleep quality and my quality of life a bit. So I really like that pillow. And I guess it's a good thing that it's also a bit higher, because I feel like now that has increased my tolerance with sleeping on thicker pillows, because I don't want to have to keep bringing my own pillow when I go overseas. And generally pillows are a bit thicker anyway, so it's easier now for me to get used to those pillows now that I'm sleeping on a slightly thicker pillow. Yeah, so that pillow has been really nice and a favorite of mine from June. Okay, and then the books that I read this month, really great books. I feel like reading, I mean, even though with everything that has happened in the last 2 months, I still kept up with my reading. It's like one thing that has kept me going, like kept me feeling like, okay, I still have it together if I'm still able to read a book. So I finished a few books this month, and I'll just talk about them. So I finally finished Sapiens, the 3rd book. I have returned it to my office, so I don't have it with me. But that took me a long time to read. Not sure why. I think it just wasn't as gripping as the first book. The very first book I finished in like a week or something, and I couldn't stop thinking about it. I thought it was so riveting. The 3rd book, I think, is starting to get a bit more, not technical, like a bit more historical. So it's a bit denser to get through. I felt like I was reading it more for information rather than for entertainment. I had to change my battery because I was talking for so long that my battery ran out. But what was I saying? I was talking about Sapiens. Yes, so Sapiens felt more like an educational book rather than look, these are ancient humans, how interesting kind of book. So I finally finished it. I had to like really sit down and intentionally read it to finish it. But I'm really excited for the 4th book. I think even if it was a bit drier, even if it was a bit less exciting than the very first book, I think it's a great graphic novel series about human history and about like humanity and society. So I'm really excited for the 4th book. Might come out in like 3 years, I don't know, because there's usually like a 2-3 year gap between each book so far. So yeah, looking forward to the 4th book. Then a book that I finished and really enjoyed, it's a book called Burnout by Emily and Amelia Nagoski. So for obvious reasons, I borrowed this from the library and I really enjoyed it. It was quite eye-opening actually. Not very like the information. It was pretty insightful and well written and thoughtful. I really like their writing style and their tone of voice. So if you're feeling, that feelings of burnout or wondering how to manage your stress, because that was a big thing that I was looking for, like ways to manage my stress. And there were a lot of lessons that I took away from it that I am implementing in my life. So for instance, the very first lesson in the book is about completing the cycle, the stress response cycle. So they say that even though like when you are stressed, sometimes you are not able to deal with the cause of your stress directly, but what you can do to manage your stress itself, which is separate from the stressor, is to complete the cycle. So that means like doing physical activities like exercising, so that's what I've been trying to do, or spending time with your loved ones, also something I've been trying to do. So at least if you manage your stress, you are able to eventually like deal with your stressor, because sometimes your stressor is ongoing and it's not something that you can get rid of forever, but your stress, the stress that your body feels is separate from the stressor, and how you manage stress in your body will greatly impact your quality of life. So because stress creates a lot of physiological reactions that if you don't control it, it can be quite damaging for you. Like your cortisol levels rise, you have a lot of, I don't really remember the science, but it creates a lot of like negative chain reactions in your body if the stress in your body is not released in some way. So that was really insightful, and that there's like a whole bunch of other lessons in the book that is really insightful and actionable. Maybe someday if I'm feeling up to it, I might talk more about the lessons that I learned, because it was really very helpful. So I really highly recommend this book if you're looking for like a non-obvious book about how to manage your stress. And the second book that I've been really enjoying, but I haven't finished it. So I'm currently reading it, but I already know it's a favorite, and I'll probably talk about it again in my next check-in, if there is a next check-in. But that is Stolen Focus by Johann. I mentioned this when I was in my book video, my recent book video. I mentioned this, but I didn't show it because at that point I haven't finished reading it. Because I read this back in maybe 2020 or 2021, but it was during the phase where I wasn't really committing to finishing my books. I was having a lot of trouble concentrating, so I started this book but I didn't finish it. But I think I got quite close to the end, so I decided to borrow it from the library and try to finish it this time. So I'm just rereading it from the start. I've been talking for so long that I'm out of breath, but I'm still going through the part of the book that I'm pretty sure I read the last time, but it's still really powerful and insightful. The lessons that his insights on the problem of why our attention is waning. So this book is basically about our deteriorating levels and quality of attention, of being able to pay attention. I mean, this is a pet topic of mine, and so I really love reading books about this. And I remember when I first read it, I felt very hopeless and overwhelmed by the severity of the problem, or how severe it felt to me. I think with time, and also like my own actions that I've taken over the years to try to rebuild my attention and my ability to pay attention, I'm a bit less overwhelmed, but it's still very moving. And he's a great writer. I read another book of his before called Lost Connections. That one is about the different causes of depression. And so I just know that he's a really great writer and very compelling debater. The way he presents his arguments is very articulate and almost lyrical. Like, he's a good storyteller. That is his strength in writing all these non-fiction, investigative journalism type of books. So I highly recommend picking this up from the library and reading it. I think you'll learn a lot. I am excited to get to the end to see like how it ends, because I didn't finish it the first time. I really enjoy it. Can't wait to read it. It's been making my train rides very exciting. So I think that is all that I have written down that I wanted to talk about with you in this check-in video. I've been talking for a long time. If you're still watching up until this point, thank you so much. I really appreciate you. Sometimes I'm not sure why the people who watch my videos. Like, what is it about my content that keeps you wanting to watch, or because sometimes I know I make videos that have good advice in general, but sometimes I'm just making like dumb vlogs about what I do in my house on the weekend. And sometimes these check-ins, which are a bit more personal, is really just me rambling about myself. And so I don't know, so I'm still trying to think like what is my value add on this channel to the world and to my viewers. So whatever your reason for watching me, I appreciate it. Thank you for being interested in my life and for watching these videos. And I don't want to promise anything because I'm very aware that the universe likes to prove me wrong, and who knows what could happen in July that could completely destroy any motivation I have to do anything at all. But I just want to say that I feel a lot better, and I don't want to, at least at this point of me talking, I don't feel like I want to give up on this channel just yet. And if I do, hopefully I will share the reasons why. But yeah, so now let's pack up May, pack up June, and file it away, and then we'll move on with July and the second half of the year. I can still salvage 2025. It's not over. It's not the end of the year yet, and a few bad months doesn't mean a bad year or a bad life. So I'll hold on to that. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye bye!